boy, it's Shifty Sunday, 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 Sunday. And hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Shifty Sunday. And we have a lot going on tonight. With me on the panel tonight, we have Sagittariusly Speaking and Armor Up. And tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we will announce the contest winners, but no, we won't announce the contest winners because guess what? We are going to let you decide. That's right. You and the audience get to decide tonight's contest winners for the t-shirt contest of Name the Slogan for the t-shirt contest. Are you guys ready for this, guys?
You talking to me?
We also have 3 votes. It ain't like they're picking it on their own, but yes, we are letting them in on the vote.
Yes. It's a group participation. And yes, I'm here. And you mentioned my name and you mentioned Arbor's name, but who the heck are you, hosts?
Oh, that's right. Who am I? Oh, yes, I'm Eddie Von King. Oh, no, wait, that's not right. I'm Macho Von King. Oh, yeah. No, wait. I'm Hebrew 77, of course.
Well, nice to meet you, Mr. Hebrew 77. Glad to be here.
Cool.
And I'm deep in the heart of South Central Pennsylvania, not Illinois.
Yeah, and I would be deep in the heart of Florida.
Oh, okay. Well, we're broadcasting from
All those places at once via the power of the internet.
We have our own little shifty triangle.
What's this internet that you speak of, sir?
It's an amazing thing that has recently came about that was invented by Al Gore back in the 90s.
Oh, I see.
By Al Gore back in the 90s. That's hilarious.
Let's well, we've got some. By the way, I'd like to apologize to everyone for the long wait. We were having some technical difficulties earlier on.
Yes, I have to take the blame for that when my sound went crazy. I tried to set up the phone lines. I have no clue what happened. But I think we got it under control. But yeah, that was all me. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen. But it'll be worth to wait.
For sure. Armor Up, let me ask you a question real quick. Just
So already you're taking way too long for real quick.
Lorraine wanted to know what the phone number is. The phone lines ain't open yet, but I got them ready to open when we're ready. But okay, what's the question?
We'll put the phone number on the banner. I believe.
Let me ask you this though, Armor Up. Could you do me a quick favor? Just asking. Just asking. Just wondering. Just curious. Would you mind shouting out the room real quick, sir?
I think I can handle that. Let me.
I know you can handle it better than handling 227 people like you did last night.
I was seriously running out of steam, man. That's a lot of names. All right, we got Chaos Reality in the house. Eddie Von Keen sporting a wrench. Jocko R sporting a wrench. Lorraine Lamore. Oiler Greg. Red Shirt Blues. I think that's everybody. Let me screw up, see if we missed anyone. Dun, dun, dun. Macho Man Von King was here earlier.
That's an imitation Von King.
Yeah, that's not the real one. That's the other real one. Okay, I believe I got everybody. Pretty sure. Hopefully. If not, hey, I love you anyhow. It'll be all right.
I wonder if Macho Man Van King can give me a good deal on the van.
The Van King.
Yeah.
I would hope so. I would hope
He'd give you
macho.
Yeah,
Man.
a very macho, a mucho macho grande savings.
I could see him. I'm just picturing right now in my head a commercial. It's the Macho Man wearing a crown, being the Macho. He's selling vans at cheap prices. Come on down to the Macho Man Van King, where kings are vans are kings. Whatever. I don't know. Totally messed that one up.
6 months supply of Slim Jims. There you go. Hey, Wise Asker is here. Shout out to the Wise Asker just popped in.
All right. Cool.
Man, I just bought a van. I wish I'd have waited. I love Slim Jims. I'd have took a 6 month supply. So that's a lot of Slim Jims, 6 month supply. I can eat a lot of Slim Jims when I'm driving.
Right.
The vans had rather large glove compartments, if I remember correctly, back then. So they could have just filled every glove compartment with Slim Jims.
He told me that I get a free mattress with every van. He throws in the free mattress of every van sold.
I thought it was a used mattress.
Oh yeah, you
Slightly used, as if slightly used is better.
slightly used.
Flip it over, it'll be all right.
Right.
Rob in the house. Howdy, Rob. Bob RoboCub. Sorry. I better put on my reading glasses.
So, we had recently almost had the hurricane down here, and on the radio today they were talking about scammers, because a lot of people in Florida are donating to the places that got hit harder. The snowbirds or whatever, and it's an older generation of people, and they're more susceptible to scams and whatnot, and I get that. But on the radio they were saying, be be cautious of organizations whose name sound like well-known organizations. And I'm thinking to myself, why would you say that? Why would those people, those organizations, be any more skep or shady than organizations that have no core, that sound totally different than a well-known organization? The reason I say that is so it's the March of Nickels versus. I mean, would you not give them your money versus the GoFundMe made this name up today account? I mean, I don't know. It just seemed like a silly thing to say on the radio to not give money to people whose organizations sound like well-known organizations.
Speaking of scammers, I wanted to bring up something. I heard Dan talking about last night and talk about synchronicities. He was talking last night about the televangelists, the preachers and stuff like that were on TV in the 80s and 90s that were coming on there saying, "Oh, send Jesus all your money and you'll be healed of all your problems and this and that and blah blah blah." And they were talking about who was it? Pat? No, not Pat. Who was the one of the biggest ones? He was caught with a prostitute and
Jim Baker and Tammy Faye.
Jim Baker, yeah, that's it. And what was funny about that, where the synchronicity part comes in, I was actually talking about that on Thirsty Thursday, and I was joking around with Dan. He asked me what I talked about on Thirsty Thursday. I said, "Well, I don't know. You have to watch the show to find out." So I kind of busting his chops on that one, but and then he brings it up on last night's show, and I'm sitting there listening. I'm like, wow, I was just talking about how, that sort of stuff. When I tuned into that back in the 90s and stuff, it turned me off to a lot of organized religion back in those days. That's what turned me off to a lot of it.
Right. Well, I mean, for every one of you that got turned off, there was probably I don't know. It was kind of a cultural phenomenon back then because the power of TV mixed with the power of religion and the power of persuasive talking kind of all combined into form one kind of like a new thing, kind of like it was new, and a lot of people got excited about it, and there's a lot of people that fell into that pit and ended up giving lots and lots and lots of money to them, and then what ended up happening? He got so much money it corrupted him. He ended up losing everything. He ended up going to jail, and I mean, I can't imagine. I can't even remember how many times I saw Tammy Faye Baker crying on television because of
And
everything that went wrong.
Her mascara
Yeah.
running. Yeah.
I was going to say, that was just the tip of the iceberg. It's like spider webbed into insanity now. I mean, that wasn't just back then. Turn on TBN. Just watch a couple hours of TBN. It'll blow your mind with it's just, yeah.
What's so terrible is that there's always there's still plenty of new victims out there who fall prey to it. I mean, it's kind of like, to me, it's like professional wrestling. If you can accept the fact that it's not real and still enjoy watching it, that's one thing, okay? But when you're actually sitting there watching it, thinking that this is all real life, you have a problem.
Well, not only that, but you were talking about the hurricane that was going to be coming your way and whatnot. And it's funny how you mentioned that. And then we were talking about Baker not letting people into his church that were seeking refuge from a.
You're talking about Joel Osteen.
Joe Osteen.
Back when,
that's right.
Yeah,
Joel
back
Osteen.
when it was coming through Texas, he was hesitant to let people come stay in his church from all that money he got to do God's work. But he built that nice lavish church, and then when there was all kinds of hurricane victims that needed refuge, it wasn't God's work for him to come stink up his joint.
That's another one of them. It's just, man, I don't know. I don't know what to say about those kind of people, but
does it really grind your gears? Is that what you're trying to say?
It really does. It really does grind my gears, but in the end, it really shouldn't, I guess. But
I mean, at one hand, I get it. I get why it's aggravating, and to somebody who can see through the veil, they don't understand how somebody could fall prey to it. But when you're on the other side and you actually believe, and there's people that show. Actually, they felt some type of special after watching it, and the words that he spoke actually spoke to them and made them feel in their own little way kind of more blessed with the Lord. So they chose to give him money. I mean, it is a person's money. It's their right to decide how they want to spend it. I mean, I don't know. I know that it's all, I mean, there's the people that realize what it is and see it for what it is, and there's other people that like it and enjoy it and want to give their money to it. So who are we to say who they should give their money to versus who they shouldn't? I guess I don't know. I definitely see your argument, though.
It just makes me sad that they prey on
this acceptable, the elderly. Yeah, you're right. That's true. That does happen.
Christians who really believe in Jesus and who really want to believe in and the faith healings and stuff, and faith healings is real. It's a real thing that really happens. You can be healed through prayer, and it's a shame that those bozos got on there and kind of ruined people's beliefs by pulling all that crap, and or at least for me, it ruined me for a long time until I had my eyes reopened and realized that you don't let someone like that just ruin your belief just because you should still believe. You should still believe in the power of prayer no matter what. But I'm just saying that thanks to them, it makes it harder and harder for the honest to God, faith healers and stuff like that to
It discredits the whole. it discredits the whole industry.
Well, not
A few bad
industry, but
apples is all it takes to
yeah,
ruin the whole batch, right?
right. That's what I'm saying. Armor up. Do you have anything to add to that or talk about it?
Well, I get your point, and I definitely agree. But also, to take the other end of the spectrum, I look at it this way: they're not deceiving anyone that's truly seeking Jesus, because if they're truly seeking Jesus, just like us, they're going to realize how big a scam that is. They're seeking man, is what they're seeking. So they're getting what they seek. My opinion.
Oh, good point. Yeah, that's
And
true.
you also, I mean, a lot of these elderly people. I mean, I know from being a telemarketer and being like in customer service, um, they'll actually call these numbers just to talk to somebody because they're sitting there in their home and all they have is themselves and or sometimes their husband. The kids don't call, the grandkids don't call. They're sitting there just wishing this they could talk to somebody. And those evangelists had a nice racket going in the sense that they were speaking to these elderly people who just so desperately wanted some type of human contact, and they always had phone lines open and people willing to talk to them about the Lord if they wanted to call the 800 number that was flashing on their screen. So
And
I mean,
and that and that just goes to show how bad it is in our country, especially. I mean, when the elderly have no one else to reach out to but a stranger on the other end of a telephone line that's a scammer, what's that got to say about all the children of the elderly?
yeah,
All the church members that surround the elderly, that supposedly this church or the neighbors, or what's that say about us in general?
yeah, very true, very true. Wherever there is a way for deception to occur, that even if it's the smallest little crack or crevice, that's the way it's going to find its way in. That's been my experience.
You know, my
Absolutely.
I have my father-in-law. He has grandchildren that live just down the road from him, and they never come over. They never come over to visit. Never been to visit, but whenever he's sick or in the hospital, or whenever somebody dies, everyone shows up when someone dies. It's like, oh, I wish I would have visited more, or I wish I would have been there more. Well, yeah, you should have. You can't say it after the fact. You know, I always visit my grandparents. They're still alive. I'm going to visit them. I'm going to be with them. You know, I take care of them most of the time. I take care of my elderly, and even when I see somebody I don't know, like the other day at Walmart, there was this elderly woman. She looked like she was about to fall over, and she was going into Walmart, and you could tell like she was getting ready to fall over. She was holding on to those posts that are there in front. And I started to get out of the car. I got out of the car, and I helped her inside Walmart and helped her get to the cart, the little carts. And then when she was leaving Walmart, I helped her get to her car, and she was a complete stranger. So what does that tell you? I mean, you can help.
Well, let me tell you. I mean, I often do that. I often like when I'm walking into the store, if there happens to be an elderly person or somebody that seems that could use some type of help carrying their groceries out, and the people at the store are supposed to offer to do it. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. I always offer, like, hey, do you need help with that? And I remember, I don't know, 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago, more often than not, an elderly person would have took me up on the offer. Now, I don't know if it's because I'm an older gentleman now and I got a big old beard and I look kind of scary, or if people are just a little bit more um, timid and afraid of being, of allowing stranger to help them with their groceries, or a combination of both. But
Well,
but it seems like lately, whenever I make that offer in the past 5 or 6 years, very few people ever they clench their purse or their pearls or their bags, and they say no, 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 I'll be fine, thank you. They're afraid to even let a stranger help them. That's what seems like what society is came to.
I think you could contribute that to all the fear mongering also that's going around in this country and maybe
Oh
other
yeah,
countries as well.
and they're the ones that are at home watching CNN, MSNBC, breaking news, red alert, emergency, emergency all day long.
Yeah. But like you said, 10 or 15 years ago, you offer to help someone. Oh, yeah, sure. Here, like when I'm in the grocery store, every time I'm in the grocery store, here, let me lift that for you. Let me help you load that onto the conveyor belt or whatever. I always offer help whenever I can.
And I can remember saying it. What does it say? The sad state of affairs that there are so many elderly people whose children and grandchildren aren't even there for them on a daily basis. And I remember when my grandma and grandpa. I was really close to my grandma and grandpa. My grandpa was more like my father than my real dad. My biological father was,
Mhm.
and I remember when he finally got old, and when he finally got put in the nursing home, I made a point to go see him on the weekend. But I remember there was probably 6 months right before he went into the nursing home when things got their absolute worst for him. When even though I did make time to go see him once or twice a week, and I know my mom and her sister and her brother were all rotating different days, go over there and make sure that he had something to eat and this and that and the other. He still spent most of his time alone because everybody else had to work, had to take care of their own families, had to tend to their own responsibilities. They just didn't have enough time in the day to be there all 24 hours a day, 7 days a week taking care of him. And insurance companies don't want to pay for anything until they absolutely have to. It really is kind of like a messed up situation the way that the system is set for failure. Once you retire and you start to lose your health, it almost seems like the system is designed in a way to just eliminate you rather than help you or abate you and comfort you. Any thoughts, Armor?
Oh yeah, I mean, I agree. But that's the whole point. I mean, they keep us so busy. They get caught up into the rat race instead of, you know, worrying about what's really important, which is the elderly, the children, the weak ones among us. But no, most people's too busy chasing the next promotion or the next raise or
Just trying to
whatever.
keep the lights on.
Are. Yeah, just trying to keep the lights on. Sure, that's all. They can't even take time alone for the elderly or the young. How are they ever going to take time alone with the father? That's the problem.
Exactly.
I try to make it a point to try to take time alone with the Father whenever I can. In fact, just today, I had said a silent prayer, and well, of course, it's going to be silent because I'm by myself. First of all, well, even when I'm by myself, I tend to talk out loud, but it is hard for me not to pray and not to have to talk out loud, even if I have to say it in a loud whisper, because if I try to say it in my head, my thoughts stray sometimes, and I don't know it. But anyway, my point being, I always take at least 5 minutes out of every day, at least 5 minutes out of every day, to talk to the Father and say hello, say a little prayer, and just today I had to say a prayer for my mom because she was sick to her stomach. She's been sick to her stomach for 2 days, so I told her that I would pray for her, and I did. And when I say I'm going to pray for someone, it isn't just a false sentiment. It isn't just like a what do you call it? A false, like, oh yeah, I'll pray for you, and then I forget about it 2 seconds later. I actually take time out to do that.
Well, that's cool. I mean, I admit I don't always make enough time for the Father myself, and it's not on purpose. It's just because I'm constantly distracted. There's constantly something something that is in the way. I don't know if it's I mean, granted, I made that decision to allow that to distract me, but it just does seem like life is full of of distractions and interception and deception and just anything, any way that it can keep you from tending to what is the most
Wow.
important thing in your life. Somehow, it finds a way to distract you from doing that, and I'm just as guilty as the next guy. I would be lying to you guys if I tried to pretend that I'm so righteous and I do everything that I'm supposed to do. But that doesn't mean I still can't acknowledge the fact that I'm slipping and still try to improve in that department. It's just I know that I'm just as guilty as the next guy on most occasions.
Wow, Mystery Friday. I ain't seen him on this channel in a while. Oh man, I got a bug floating across my screen. Sorry
So
about
with that
that.
all being said, you guys want to what do you want to do first, Hebrew? Do you want to talk about the slogans? You want to open the phone lines? Well, what do you want to do next?
Well, we'll talk about the slogans here in a second, but if you guys could excuse me for just a moment and talk about amongst yourselves, I gotta go do something real quick.
All right, it's your show. I guess you can do that if you want. Are you there, Armor, or am I? Is this all of a sudden solo, Sagittarically solo?
I'm still here.
All right. Well, since we're waiting on him to come back, um, I'm going to go ahead and um, read Lorraine's. No, I'm going to let him do it because he's going to sing it. I forgot he was going to sing it. Well, what do you want to?
Lorraine wanted
Well, let me.
she could sing it, but
Okay.
Hebrew does have the song down. He sang it for us beforehand, so
Yeah, before the show, he did quite a good job.
yeah.
But let me go ahead and reiterate that we've had this contest going on for almost a month now. The purpose of the contest has been to come up with a slogan for the Shifty Sunday show, the one you're listening to now, the one we're all here for. And it is basically a slogan that we'll use for the banner before we go live every Sunday, or most Sundays, or whatever. And then we're also going to make a T-shirt with the slogan on it, with a shirt that says Shifty Sunday, and whose ever slogan we end up choosing to be the slogan that we use for your hard work and efforts, and being the winning slogan, you're going to receive a free T-shirt with the slogan printed on the T-shirt, along with your name or the name of your choosing. You could be Macho Eddie Van King, unless that name is already taken. And basically, yeah, that's it. Or you choose a name. I was just kidding about the Macho Eddie Van King. And we put the slogan on there. We ship you a T-shirt, and then you're notoriously well known forever on Shifty Sunday. Woohoo! Did I put enough enthusiasm in that, Armor?
Could have been a little more enthusiastic, but yeah, that about sums it up.
All right. Are you back,
Everybody,
Hebrew?
everybody loves something free. I love a free T-shirt.
Oh yeah.
Oh, sorry about that, guys. Okay, yeah, I'm back.
All right.
It's pretty unanimous in the chat. Everybody wants Lorraine to go in and sing her song about her slogan. So
Yeah, there you go. She could sing the song.
All right. So, do you want to read the other ones and before we open the phone line, or do you want to open the phone line, let her get in here, and then we'll just read them off right, and not let her sing hers in the process?
We can yeah, we can open. You know what? Have her sing hers so we can number them.
All right.
and then everybody in the chat, when you vote, you're going to put the number of the slogan you like the best. We'll number them for you.
For instance, whatever one we read first, we'll say number one, and then you just have to type number one, and that way you choose you're voting for number one, or number two, or number three, whatever one you're voting for.
But make sure you wait to hear them all. That way you know when you like the best.
So do you guys want me to go ahead and read off the other ones until she calls in, or?
I would read off the ones we got and number them, and because the phones are ready, all you got to do is put the number up. So anytime you want to put the number up, she can call in.
Yeah, I better do that, huh?
We can let her do hers, and that'll be number one, and then we'll cut the phone lines and do the other ones and tally the vote. However you want to do it, dude.
Okay, well, there's the number and the pin.
Okay, and that number right now is just for her to call in and do her song for Lorraine. So please don't call in unless you're Lorraine. Thank you.
I think we're having a good night so far, guys. What about you?
Oh man, I'm telling you, it's the shiftiest Sunday ever. Trying to get just to go live tonight, wasn't it?
The phone number should be live on the screen, Lorraine.
There was a slight delay. It might have just popped up.
True. Then after we're done with all this, then we'll take more phone calls. How about that?
Oh, I thought you were going to take me out for tacos.
Oh, that sounds good too. You want some tacos?
I'm just kidding.
What's your favorite taco?
There's different kinds of tacos.
Well, sure, man. There's like, there's ground beef tacos.
Okay, chicken taco, I guess. Fish taco.
Sure. Yeah.
I like ground beef tacos.
Oh, there it is.
I like steak and chicken fajitas too.
Oh man, steak fajitas is good.
I like quesadillas. Is that what they're called? Yeah, I like
yes.
Chicken and steak quesadillas. All right, Lorraine is on the line.
Okay, I'm going to hide the phone number.
Hide the phone number.
Yeah.
Hope you guys wrote it down. It's gone down.
All right, Lorraine, you are live.
Thank you. Sorry to be so insistent, but I just want to get this done, and I have to get up early for work. I recorded it, so I'm going to press the play button, and it's the song that goes with the wording of the T-shirt, because the wording is lyrics, okay? All right.
Okay.
Yeah, you'll hear it. Ready?
Yes.
S is for the S's that have disappeared. H is for us, it's changed, my dear. I is for incredible, lots of changes to our edible. F is freaky cause Mandela effects are all the buzz. And T is for time that's running fast. Y is for your memories, hope they last. If it's not a fun day, won't you join me Shifty Sunday? Shifty Sunday for me. Shifty Sunday, if you please.
All right. That's awesome. I think rather than a T-shirt slogan, we need to give Lorraine a T-shirt and use that as a musical intro myself.
Yes. I agree.
I'll tell you what, I got something. Hold on. How about that? There you go.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Yes, and if,
Yeah, would you be willing to give us permission to use that as our intro, Lorraine?
yes, sure, you can. Although, of course, the music is the old song, so you might want to think about that. Although I looked up, Nat King Cole recorded that in 1965, so I don't know if it's, you have to check into the clearance for the legal rights for the music part. They might have an issue with that, but the lyrics, I wrote, and maybe I'll do a better version of it. I just recorded it so that I wouldn't have to sing live, and I could make sure it sounded right. But,
Yeah, awesome. If you could, yeah, awesome. If you could do a good recording, that was plenty good enough for me. But if you want to do another recording, or just email us the one you got, that'll be awesome. We'll use it for our theme song.
Can
But
you
yeah, and that'll be That'll be entry number 1, people. And the way the shirt would be laid out, let me explain. It would have Shifty in capital letters going up and down, like S at the top, Y at the bottom, and then in small letters across, it would have like S is for the S's that disappeared, and la-di-da-di-da. So that's how the shirt would be laid out.
All the wording that I'm saying is written across, so that, S is for this, H is for that, and then the last few lines at the bottom. And I need to do some kind of design for that, but can you tell me your email right now, and then I'll jot it down, or do you say that on the air? Or?
Yeah, I mean, it don't matter. You can send it to me. My email is God's Armor and the number 1, all small letters, God's Armor 1, one big word, at, what is my email? Hotmail.com. Yeah. God's Armor 1 at hotmail.com. That's what mine is.
Armor, ARMOUR?
No, American way. ARMOR. I'm American.
And then the number 1 or the word ON?
The number 1. I'll type it in chat.
Okay.
There's mine.
All right, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Bye.
Wow, that was amazing.
Hey.
Amazing.
I got to say, Uber Conference did an update or something, and it's pretty awesome because now everyone's muted when they come in. Me and Dan was just talking about they should add that feature, and they must actually did it since last night. That's pretty cool.
They must have been listening to you guys, huh?
Oh, they're always listening. This time they paid attention for once. I know, Connie, you don't have to sing for an entry, but the entries were already supposed to be in. But if you have an entry, type it in real quick. We'll throw you in there, I'm sure.
We'll take late entries.
Last minute entries.
While she's typing hers in, remember that's choice number 1. Now, Hebrew, do you want to read the other choices so then we can get to a vote?
All right. This should I read? Like Jocko's got 2 of them. How would I do that?
Each one is its own.
One would be number 2. One would be number 3.
Okay, so I'll read starting from the top what I've got written here. Mr. Jocko writes in, his first one was, you are not from my reality.
That would be number 2.
And then I'll read you his second one. Okay?
All right.
I got this stupid sorry, this cracks me up a little bit reading it. I got this stupid t-shirt by admitting I believe in the Mandela effect.
And that would be entry number 3.
Number 3.
Could you read it one more time?
I got this stupid t-shirt by admitting I believe in the Mandela effect.
All right. Number 3. I got this stupid t-shirt by admitting I believe in the Mandela effect.
Okay, that was number 3.
All right.
And Euler Greg writes in and says, I shifted 80,000 light years to Orion, and all I got was this shirt.
That's number 4.
Number 4. I shifted 100 light years from Orion, and all I got was this shirt.
100?
Oh, how many?
80,000?
80,000. I'm sorry.
And that's number 4. Do we have any other ones?
Number 5 is Red Shirt Blues. And Red Shirt writes in and says, best thing about shifting to Orion, Shifty Sunday. Worst thing, no green women.
That's number 5.
All right. Does that conclude the list? Is there more?
Well, we have a late entry if that's all that we had already. Connie Joe Woods, which would be number 6. 6 is something shifty this way comes. Or comes this way.
I like that. Something shifty this way comes. Number 6. All right. So now it's time to vote, everybody. If you've heard them all. Type in number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6 for your vote in the chat. Why, it's still fresh in your head.
Oh wait. Was his? That's the way I wrote it down. 80,000 light years to Orion.
From
Okay.
Sagittarius to Orion.
From Sagittarius to Orion. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, you want to go over them one more time? Number one.
Yeah, go ahead and start with number one and read them off one more time. Everyone's voting.
You are not from my reality. That's Mr. Jocko.
Number one.
Wait, that's
No,
number
that's
two.
number two. Number two.
Hold on. Don't mess up now.
Oh,
Yeah.
well,
Yeah,
that's
that's number two.
Rain, wasn't it?
Number one is
Lorraine's. Number one was Lorraine's song.
Mhm.
Number two was the one you just read. What's number two again? Read it again.
You are not from my reality. That's number 2.
All right.
Number 3 is I got this stupid shirt by admitting I believe in the Mandela effect. And that's number 3, right?
Yep. And what's number 4?
Was number 4 Euler Greg? Was that his?
Yeah,
Well, however you have it on your list there.
whatever you just read in the same order. That's what it was.
Euler Greg, I shifted 80,000 light years, and there's been a correction on that, from Sagittarius to Orion, and all I got was this T-shirt.
Okay.
And Red Shirt Blues wrote in, said, best thing about shifting to Orion, Shifty Sunday. Worst thing.
And what number are we on?
Oh, shoot. Was that number 5?
Number 5.
Number 5.
Best thing.
And then
about, oh, I'm still reading it. Hold on. Sorry.
Go
Best
ahead.
thing about shifting to Orion, Shifty Sunday. Worst thing, no green women.
And number 6, something shifty this way comes.
Yep.
So we got some votes in. There's a couple that haven't voted yet. Right now we got a vote for 2, a vote for 5, a vote for 6, and 3 votes for 4. Another vote for 4. And I would say we might as well let the cat out of the bag who we voted for. We got another vote for 5. I'll type in my vote in the chat.
Oh, we got to. Oh, yeah, we got to vote too, don't we?
Yeah, we already did, but we ought to make it official, I guess.
All right, I can go in chat and vote too.
We got another 4 from Jocko, 4 from Armor Up, 4 from Hebrew. Sag, if you don't want to go to chat, you can just say what you voted. We all know what it was.
No, I'll type it in. Everybody else's.
All right. I didn't want you to mess up. I know you're on a phone. There you go. And Sagittarically is a 4. So, yep, looks like Euler Greg by a landslide.
Hello?
Hello?
Can you hear me? Well, I don't know where everyone else is. I hope you guys can hear me. Congratulations to Euler Greg. Awesome slogan. They were all awesome. So, and Lorraine, that song's, we definitely need that.
All right.
That's awesome.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, and if Euler Greg will email Armor Up his address or his.
Hello.
No, wait, it's what's the name of the? Sorry, what's the name of the site? Well, I'm going to ship it right to him anyway.
Yeah, you'll have to go on the site and order it. He won't be able to because it'll charge him. So yeah, just email me your address or email Hebrew your address, and don't forget to also email with your address whatever name you want on it, whether you want Euler Greg or whatever. I mean, whatever lettering you want at all. It don't have to be your name. Whatever you want on it.
And congratulations.
Oh wait, I got something for him. Hold on.
And
Like I said,
Lorraine is also going to get a shirt sent to her for giving us a cool new intro for our show.
yep, and she can. What we'll do once Hebrew gets the shirts up, because he's probably going to have more than just that design, I'd imagine. I'm not sure what's happening. But once the shirts are up, then we'll let Lorraine pick out the one she wants. And same thing, you have to send us your address. And so when you send
And then
it,
also,
you send your address with it. And once the t-shirts are up, you can go pick out the one you want and let us know.
and then anybody who wants a shirt that didn't win, whatever the cost is on the website for the shirt, we will be happy to order you a shirt. We're not trying to make any money off the deal, but we would have to cover the cost of whatever it is to send you to order and send you a shirt. We'll figure that out once we know what that cost is, and you're more than happy to order one if you want one.
Yeah, I think the ones on my site, I think they average, because I imagine you're going to go through Teespring just like most of us do.
Oh yeah.
I think the shirts average like $20 to $25 or something like that. I think the ones I bought off myself were 20 or something. I forget exactly. It was right around $20. They ain't all that bad.
He said he almost voted against himself.
Yeah, they were all awesome slogans. It was
Yes, we
it was a tough
have a
choice.
wonderful audience
Yeah.
full of clever, witty ways of speaking.
But I just visualized the graphic and everything with Oilers. So yeah, we need to get a picture of the galaxy and you were here, and yeah, it should be an awesome shirt.
And it'll probably take a while. So just
Yeah, the shirts aren't even designed yet, so it may be a month or so till you get your shirt, but you will definitely get a shirt.
I got to get to work on that as soon as I get off of here. So,
Yeah, thanks for participation, everyone. That was awesome. Lots of great slogans.
and maybe we'll do other contests down the road somewhere. We'll do other things. I thought that was pretty neat little participation. And you guys were all awesome. Thank you. So, Sagittariusly speaking,
Yes.
with the contest out of the way and everything, is there anything? I believe you had something for us.
Yeah, I'm trying to look it up now. Just bear with me here.
Okay.
I'm not quite there yet.
I had a subject I wanted to bring up that actually occurred on last night's show. At the end of the show, I'll see if you remember this or not. You guys were talking, and again, my wheels started cranking. And I believe I told you this in Hangouts. I'm not sure, but you were talking about the calling. You called it the calling and stuff like that, and my thoughts got to cranking, and it's a very interesting thing that we all talk about, and I all talk about. Are we all ready to answer that call? Are we all ready? Like, I know I'm not. Like, if it were to happen today, would I be ready? And I got to say, honestly, no, I'm not. But we all have to get ready. And it certainly, that talk you guys had last night kind of shook me up a little bit and kind of got me thinking, like, oh man, I better get my act together and get my shit straight, or I'm not going to be part of this whole calling. But I want to know what your thoughts on that, since you're the one that talked about it last night. I'd like a little extension on that, because I don't know how quite. Could you explain to me how quite that all goes, Armor?
Well, I've been talking about it in a few of my Wednesday words, especially I think 2-3 weeks ago, maybe one of the Wednesday words. But it sort of got put on my heart that the calling's happening. Now, it may have been going on. I'm not saying it just started, but right now we're being called. There's no doubt in my mind about that. The Mandela effect, like I was saying last night, may be a part of that. I don't know. It makes sense if it is. I mean, I could see how it could be. There's no doubt we're being called. And like I said in 2 or 3 Wednesday words ago, the calling's happening now. The choosing's coming soon because time's getting short. So you need to make sure you're chosen. And then I think it was, I think it was on this show when Scotty E called in that night. We was talking about this a bit. And I said the secret to being chosen, see, the Father chooses who he will. We know that from the Bible. Father chooses whoever he wants to choose. Whatever he wants to do, Father does it. But I'll let you in on a little inside secret, like I said the other time. The Father chooses those who choose his Son. So if you want to be chosen, it isn't that hard. You just choose his Son. So if you're wondering if you're chosen, I would say you are because you're choosing his Son. That don't mean we're perfect. That don't mean we've got it all ironed out. But as long as you're choosing his Son, as long as you're trying, as long as you're obeying his commandments, getting yourself filled with the Holy Spirit, which is all that Wednesday Word's been about for all summer. So if you want to know how to do that, tune in. It's continuing. So all summer we've been talking about the Spirit and how to be filled with it and what it means and all of that. So just choose his Son, get filled with the Spirit, do what you're supposed to do. And in my opinion, now this is my opinion, you're going to be chosen because the Father chooses who he wants. And I think the Father wants to choose the ones that follow his Son.
Very well said.
You know, with all that talk, it also got me thinking about a little verse in the Bible. And when we talk about the Mandela effect, we talk about all the changes that are taking place, not just words or not just TV shows or movies or whatever, but the changes of the world that are taking place, the big changes and the changes in the Bible and the changes in the geography and such and stuff. And there's a word in the Bible where the disciples asked Jesus, they say, how do we know? I guess they were talking about the end, or they were talking about his return. And they were talking about his return. And they said, how will we know when your return is upon us? And he says, well, it's simple. You know, I'm quoting how I would say it myself. He says, basically, it's simple. You guys can see the signs of the earth and the winds, the change of the winds, and when a storm is coming, you could see and tell when a storm is coming. When the hot wind is blowing, you know it's going to be hot. You know when it's going to be cold. You know when it's going to rain. He said that the signs of the times is that simple. And I think that they really are. And in my opinion, I think that the signs of the times that are changing is being changed all through this Mandela effect. And we want to believe that it's something else, but it, in my opinion, it could very well be the changes that are taking place that aren't just words and stuff like that, but the changes that are taking place, in my opinion, might very well be those signs that Jesus was talking about. And I could be wrong, but what are your opinions or thoughts on that?
Well, they could be, but I think you're sort of mixing verses up there because when he's saying about discerning the seasons and the weather, he's talking about how they can do that, but they can't perceive the signs of the times. It isn't saying that they're easy like that. He's saying those you can do, but you can't see the signs of the times.
Oh,
You
okay.
missed it. You're sort of you're sort of confusing a couple there. I think in my memory, when he's saying about the seasons, he's talking about the Pharisees and them that can they can tell all the seasons and everything, but they can't tell the signs that are coming. Like I said, I agree. The Mandela effect could be part of what's going on. Are they the complete end all of Father's plan? Heck no. That's like no. They're just a small part, if any part. We've
Right.
had
If anything,
other
it's
signs. We've had other
go
signs
ahead.
that no one even mentions. I mean, what was it? About 2-3 years ago, the real sign in the heaven where the virgin gave birth and the dragon was waiting to devour it. And I mean, Revelation 12 played right out over our heads 2 to 3 years ago, and most people have no idea, no clue at all that something that never happened before, and chances of it happening again are slim to none, happened. And it quoted Revelation 11 basically with what was going on with the constellations. So that was a major sign to me. It had nothing to do with Mandela effect. That was the sign for me that convinced me we're in the end times, because that's straight out of the book, and it played out exactly as the book said it would play out, which is mind blowing in itself when you think of everything that had to line up in the stars for it to happen, and the fact that it had never happened before, and more than likely will never happen again. So that's way bigger than the Mandela effect to me, but they all play a part in it. You know what I mean? Most of all, when they ask about the signs of the end, what Jesus told them was first and foremost, the very first thing out of his mouth when they ask about the signs of the end was, do not be deceived. That was the first thing he said, because there are many false Jesuses, many who will claim to be Jesus. And that don't just mean people walking around saying, hey, I'm Jesus. No, that means all these Christians walking around saying, hey, I follow Jesus. I believe in Jesus. I'm all for Jesus. Taking his name, sort of in vain. That's not quite the way we're taught that means, but that's what it means. When it says don't take the Lord's name in vain, it ain't got nothing to do with saying shit or damn. Nothing at all. It has to do with claiming to be a follower of Jesus and then not being a follower of Jesus. That's taking his name in vain. And that's a pretty biggie in my book. So, and we were warned it's going to happen. And anyone that can't look around and see the millions and billions of false Jesuses that we're getting bombarded with all through TBN and CBN and online and all the Benny Hinn's and this and that and friggin' Joe Osteen's, and I mean, false Jesus is just running rampant. And that's what 99.9% of these people are worshiping, false Jesus, because they forgot to listen to the very first thing he told them, do not be deceived. They walk around deceived. And that's why most of them is going to end up exactly where they don't want to be. And that's why they're going to hear, get away from me. I ain't never even knew you. Oh, but didn't we do all these great things in your name? That wasn't his name. That was the false Jesus's name.
Very well said once again. And the trick is not being deceived. I mean, the long and the short and the side and the middle all come together. And the trick is avoiding the deception, which is, what we're all trying to do here. I mean, it's not that it's easier said than done, obviously. And, for some people it's easier, and for some people not so much. But the trick is to stay aware, stay alert, use discernment, apply what, if something doesn't feel right or sound right or seem right, it probably isn't right. So, I mean, you have to, there's a lot going on in today's media and in today's technology and today's social cultures. And I mean, it's just,
Sure.
it's like you have to conform and submit or to an ideology that is preconceived, that isn't the way of the Lord, or you're considered you're considered a domestic terrorist. I mean, it's really coming to a point where you have to pick a side, and you have to constantly apply discernment to every decision you make. in everything that you allow in your spectrum of reality.
And you know what else? I think that in many ways the enemy controls the media. The mainstream media is what I'm
Well,
talking about.
that's
You
what's
think?
so.
You
Yeah, that's such a brilliant observation there, Ebro.
Well, I mean, no, okay, I'm Captain Obvious, but you know,
But that's what I mean. That's the whole point of everything. That's what we're here to try to help people decipher between. You know.
The enemy controls the mainstream media, the mainstream churches, the mainstream everything, and a lot of the YouTube channels are just another
Yeah.
blind for the enemy.
I mean, even when you get a job at a major corporation, or you go into a trade or a field, let's say you're working for Wall Street. You have to conform to the ideologies of Wall Street. You have to dress like them. You have to act like them. You have to talk like them. You have to basically become subservient to that culture and that ideology. And is there still room for your personal faith and time for the Father? Yeah, but it's not going to be easy. That'd probably be one of the hardest professions I can think of besides being a lawyer and or a banker and maintaining that. But then you also have unions, and in a union you have to learn the union talk. You have to learn the you have to. I mean, our society has so many built-in ideologies that try to take precedence over our personal ideologies. It's almost impossible not to fall into a cookie cutter cut of some form of another and enter into today's society as a productive individual without falling into a trap or a preconceived notion that's already been established.
It's very hard to do, but, you know, again, just to say what Jesus said, you can't serve two masters. So if you're too busy worrying about serving Wall Street, then no, you're never going to. It's impossible to have a relationship. It ain't hard. It's impossible to have a relationship with the Father. You cannot serve two masters. Either you serve the Father or you don't. It's that simple.
Yeah.
You're too busy worrying about Wall Street. Well, then no, you ain't got a chance. Said you might say you have a chance. I'm saying no, you don't. You ain't got a single
Yeah.
chance in hell of doing anything. You unless you're serving the Father, forget it. Period. There is no end a little bit of this or end a little. No, you can't serve two masters, and that's it. That's the way it is. I'm sorry. It's the way it is.
Yeah, I concur. I was just trying hard to not make it so absolute, but the truth is, it really is that absolute, isn't it?
Well, yeah, the times. I mean, it has to be absolute now. Time's short. We can't keep pussyfooting around and. I mean, I love everybody, and I think you all have a chance to be called. Well, you are all are being called. No doubt in my mind about that. Everybody out there is being called. But you all have a chance to be chosen. But like I said, the choice is, are you going to choose him? Or are you going to keep choosing whatever you're choosing now? You can only choose one. This isn't it. It's it. There's no more mediocrity, no more lukewarmness, no more.
So I mean, what is the no? What do you? I guess the next question that comes to my mind is, so you can only choose one, but at the same time, you have to get up every day and get out there and enter the rat race in some way, shape, or form. If you're going to, if you're going to provide for your family, how do you balance that? I mean, what is the answer to be successful at providing for your family and being a successful, productive individual in society, yet maintaining, the oneness with the Lord? How do you accomplish that?
Well, the way I accomplish it, I mean, you guys know now I work anywhere from 16 to 20 some hours a day when I work. That's only 2 to 3 days a week. But a lot of you may not know, and some of you may have forgot, but for 5 to 6 years, I forget how long it was, at least 5 years, 6 years, maybe 10 years. I don't know. It was a long time. I was totally unemployed and had zero income. Zero. I don't think that ever sunk into people's brains when I talked about this before, when I was living like this. Zero. Not any income. Zero. Nothing. Okay. Not a check from anywhere. Zero income for well over 5 years. And my father never once let me go hungry. He never once let my electric not be paid. He never once let me down. How it happened, I can't even begin to explain to you how the money would show up when I needed it. But I can't. There's no explanation. All I know is it did. So the way you balance it, even though I'm employed now, the way you balance it is to realize, am I going to believe what the Father and Jesus told me, or aren't I? That's what it boils down to.
Father provide.
Do I believe I'm more important than that bird?
Yep.
Do I believe he's going to clothe me better than those flowers? Do I believe my Father's going to provide everything I need to carry out his will as long as I'm doing it? Everything I need. If that means I need internet, he's going to give me internet. He did it. It got shut off for a week, maybe 2, maybe 3. But it was always back on when he decided it was time to get back to doing what I'm doing. I had no income, people. None. Zero. For years. And here I am. And there I was with power and food and internet and cars and everything I needed to do what I need to do for him. How? I don't know. You tell me how. Because of the Father. That's how.
Yep.
Because he's the Father of miracles. Because he's the Father that said, I will never forsake you and I will take care of you. Period. Do you believe it or don't you believe it? Like I said, I work now, but what most people don't know is right now at my job, and it's been this way for about a month, we're on an edge. They came straight out and told me this place could be closed tomorrow. We're running on like nothing. And I told them, and luckily my boss is a Christian person, so they say they're on the right track. You know what I mean? Most of them in the office are, and I tell them, well, okay. No problem. The Father got it. If the place shuts down, it shuts down. If it don't, it don't. But there's no sense worrying about it. There's no sense stressing over it. There's no sense doing anything because it's in the Father's hands. Are you going to put it in his hands or aren't you? So far, the business is still going. Might I have a job tomorrow? I don't know. I don't care. I love my job. I love what I do. I get paid decent. I put in long hours, but I get paid decent. I got plenty of time to do what I need to do for the Lord because I only work 3 days a week. It all works out. Father give me an awesome gig. But if it goes away, it goes away. If I'm unemployed another decade, I'm unemployed another decade. Father still took care of me. There's no doubt in my mind. So that's how you cope with it. That's how I cope with it. I believe what he tells me.
So I mean, I'm reading between the lines here. It's really it's surrender is what you're telling me. Then surrendering your will, your to the belief and the faith that he will provide for you, that it will be handled, that it is in his hands, and that he will make sure that if it's needed, you will receive it.
Absolutely. And do I believe everything is going to work out for my good if I love him? Absolutely. So if I lose my job, it's for my good, whether I understand it or not, whether I suffer over it a bit or not. Sure. I might suffer worldly, might lose internet for a month, a week, might have a car break down. I can't get fixed. That's all happened in the past. It's no big deal. Life goes on. You know what I mean? It all works out for your good. Either you believe it or you don't. It's that simple.
I can
believe
that
we don't.
I'm doing the same thing now, Armor. I mean, I honestly, there's, magically somehow, some way, I'm here on this broadcast with you guys, and my income is pretty much zilch right now. And my refrigerator has food in it. My AC is still working. My phone is still on. Somehow, it's all managing to happen for me. So I can relate more than you realize.
And that's what it's all about. I mean, I got a house. It's paid for. It's falling apart. It's got holes in the floors, holes in the roof, drafts. There's no insulation. You know what I mean? So do I complain and get on and beg for help and Or am I grateful for what I got? You know what I mean? At least I have a house. I'm not in a bucket. You know how many homeless people I see driving around DC? I could be there. Yeah, my house might leak and my house might be drafty and it might be cold in the winter and it might not be the best looking place on the block. But it's mine and I got it and I'm thankful for it. I don't need nothing else. You know, that's the problem. Everybody's striving for the next best thing. Be thankful for what you got.
Otherwise, I mean, if you become a proverbial hamster on a wheel, where you're putting all this time, effort, and energy into, you know, into a lost cause that's truly taking you nowhere, even though you feel like you have to hurry up and get there.
What he's saying also goes all the way back to, I think there's a verse in the Bible that covers that, where he talks about, if my Father in heaven feeds the birds that fly and sows or something like that, then would he not provide for you and feed you as well? Are you not better? Are you better than those birds that are kept fed? I might have botched that all up, but you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. And that's basically what I said earlier. You know, aren't we more important than the birds? Or at least as important to the Father? You know what I mean? Even the sparrow knows that he holds tomorrow. Think about that. Even the sparrow knows he holds tomorrow. The sparrow ain't worried about tomorrow. He knows Father got tomorrow. Why don't you? Why don't we all? I know Father got tomorrow. There's no doubt in my mind. It gives you the peace beyond understanding. People don't understand how I can be peaceful and happy, especially the ones that see my house and know the way it is. And I mean, they're just like, dude, it's like, but how can you be so happy? You don't have much of nothing. No, I don't. I don't care. I don't need much of nothing. I got everything I need to do what I need to do. That's all that matters.
It's funny you say that, because I mean, I remember when I was still with my ex, and you know, I worked my fingers to the bone. I put in 60, 70, 80 hours a week. My ex, my spouse at the time, she put in over 40 hours a week, and we had a big old house full of all kinds of material items. We drove new cars, and we had house payments and car payments and nice things, and you know, deluxe television sets and fancy furniture and whatnot. And you know what? I was miserable. I was totally miserable. I was constantly stressed out. My eye was always twitching. I felt like I was never going to get ahead. I felt like I was never going to, that I was constantly worried about it all falling apart. And eventually it did. And ever since then, I've learned to become a minimalist. I've learned that I've actually started. I have just a shell of what I once used to have, but I've never been happier. I've never been more peaceful. I've never been less stressed out than I am right now, as far as facing life on life's terms. I really do feel a lot less anxiety when I wake up in the morning. When I go to bed at night and lay my head on my pillow, I'm not sitting there struggling with all the ways that I could possibly lose it all, because I only have what I need, and I only need what I have. I mean, I really can relate to what you're saying way more than you could possibly realize. With that all being said, do you guys want to open the phone lines back up or not?
I was just going to ask that. In fact, I think I did.
Yeah, they're still open, but I just want to. Taekwondo says they lack faith. Most people don't realize faith is one of the spiritual gifts. The only reason I got so much faith is because the Father blessed me with that gift. So if you lack faith, then just ask for it. The Father wants to give you everything that you ask for. That's going to benefit you for doing his business. If you're asking the Father for gifts of healing just so you can make yourself some big famous healer, well, then that's not the way it works. But if you're asking the Father for gifts so that you can glorify him, you'll get them. So if you lack faith, then ask for faith. I don't have all this faith because I'm some great, wonderful person. Believe me, I got this faith because I'm blessed with this faith. And I've seen the results of this faith, which strengthened the faith. But it's all from the Father. It's all from the Spirit. We all can have the same thing. That's the point. We all can be this way. Every one of us. Just ask. In fact, tune into this Wednesday's word, because once again, blowing my mind, everything we're talking about right now, about asking for the gifts and what they are all covered in this Wednesday's word. You'll learn all about the real Father. You'll learn about the gifts, what the Spirit's for, and how to ask and what it means. And it's just amazing. Once again, everything we're talking about is what's going to be on this Wednesday's word. Blows my mind.
Wow. Talk about synchronicities. So, Sagittariusly speaking, we want to open up the phone lines here in just a second, but did you want to maybe say your thing, or are you prepared for it yet?
Yeah, I'm ready for it now. If you guys want to go in a different direction.
Yeah, if you want to do that, and then we can open the phone lines.
I mean, earlier this conversation kind of started with you talking about the calling, and while I was looking up stuff to talk about on the show today, I was thinking about technology. I was thinking about how much it influences our society. And I was thinking about what if there was a technology reset, some type of, I guess, for lack of a better word, catastrophe or apocalypse, where the technology we currently have no longer existed. How would we recreate it? I mean, unless you were a technician or some type of, graduate of MIT, or you could design, and you could go out in the woods and get all the materials you needed to take rocks and sticks and turn them into tools, and then take those tools and take minerals and resources and turn them into components to build a cell phone. How would you make a cell phone? And where would you get the blueprint to make the cell phone? And let's just forget about a cell phone. How would you just make a regular phone with a phone line? Like the one that Alexander Graham Bell made back in the day. So I got to thinking, well, let me look up his patent. I could go on National Treasure. I could go to the museum. I could find his original patent for the phone, and I could just use that, and I could get out these rocks and these sticks, and I could somehow figure out a way to turn it into a telephone. And so I looked up the patent, and I read the patent, and I saw his drawing of the patent, and I realized that patent would not help me out at all. That I would still be lost without a way to recreate a telephone. Forget about a TV or a radio or a generator. I personally don't know how to make any of that stuff, nor do I know too many people who probably could. So it would be interesting to see how did all the technology come about in the first place, and how did we go from, tying a piece of flint to a stick and calling it a spear to, with a little arrowhead on the tip of it, to having in the Industrial Revolution. I mean, somehow, some way, it all occurred, and I was just curious as to how it did. And then I stumbled across these articles that I think they're probably satirical, but they're kind of like talking about when the technology was coming into play. It's trying to guess. I guess it's trying to gauge or gain the general consensus of what was happening, as far as the way society was accepting the technology back when it was first coming into play, in real time. I mean, when the electricity was still being invented and the telephone was still being invented. And I got these articles here. I was just going to read a couple of them. Basically,
I have them ready to share on the screen, so let me know which one you're going to do first.
Okay. The one at the top, it says, a must for every home. or too ugly for a hall table.
Okay, I got it ready to share. Hebrew, you got to let me share it. There you go.
All right, so interior designers have clashed with the scientific boffins over the look of the newly invented telephone. Hailed by the techno wizards as a great leap forward in human communication, the designers say it looks all mechanical and wiry and doesn't go with anything. A spokesman for Alexander Graham Bell said the, dis- the dissatisfaction with the appearance of the telephone was a little bit premature. Get off the guy's back, he said. And then it says in bold letters, communication. Belly's been working night and day, inventing a new form of communication that will totally transform the way the human race will talk to each other in the future. And all some people want to know is why it isn't available in leopard skin model. the spokesman content the spokesman continued, honestly, they'd be much better off popping over to Paris and having a wing about scene of those wishy-washy paintings that Claude Monet is knocking together of water lilies and bridges. They look like someone dropped their paints in a footpath puddle. Hang hang one of these on the wall and no one will ever notice your telephone. Meanwhile, phones are already being made to place phones available for public use in small sheds dotted around the landscape. And then down at the bottom on that, you see the guy carrying a phone on the side of his hip, and it's saying claims that device may one day be mobile, quickly dismissed. And this one really kind of cracked me up. Speculation that the telephone may one day be a mobile device that you could carry around and use while you're walking along have been quickly dismissed as sheer lunacy. Back then, I guess that really would be the case, but it says, have a look at it, said one onlooker. You're hardly going to whack that hardly going to whack that in your pocket when you head off to the shops. Not to mention the drama of dragging a cable around behind you. Mobile telephones will never happen. The problem is always being attached to a cable could prove the biggest hurdle, according to a prominent observer. I love how they use the word prominent observer. You can always have to retrace your steps along exactly the same path when you return home, or you end up with a cable wrapped around trees and poles. People would be getting tripped by it all over the place. And don't even think about going for a browse in the Ming Dynasty vase for the Ming Dynasty vase store with your cable, knocking them down like 9 pins. And rain presents yet another obstacle, with senior scientists from London's Royal Academy stating that taking an electrical device outdoors in wet weather could prove to be as dangerous as juggling with very sharp, slippery things and have been dipped in poison. Some of the members of the academy, however, described him as a worrywart, prone to exaggeration, and someone who always likes making new things sound a bit more dangerous than they are by citing stupid and inappropriate analogies that he randomly makes up. Bell himself refused to voice a definitive opinion on the eventual emergence of such a device. I know that I'm reading terrible, guys, and I do apologize. But what I do notice, and on this one here, look at the telephone, how it actually is kind of like built into the table, and all the fancy, like engravements on the table itself. I mean, that is definitely a standout piece of furniture by any stretch of the imagination. And then There was one other one that I wanted to make mention of. Let's see if I'm waiting for the page to load. I went back to the main page here, so just bear with me. It's
Do
the
you want me to
one
the other picture?
armor. Yeah, I'm waiting for it to load. Oh yeah, it's the one where it says horn or ring, and it's the picture of him actually using the phone for the first time. If you notice the
One that
people,
the inventor insists on people using his name.
yes, maybe. No, maybe I didn't put that one in.
The only other one I got is the one about that,
Yeah,
with Watson and stuff.
yeah. Let's go to that one. What is the main the main one? What is it? What does it say? Inventor using his name.
Yeah, they insist on him using his middle name.
Okay.
Okay, you
All
got
right,
to
I'm
shoot
on it now.
Hebrew.
Just bear with me here.
Did you share me?
Say what?
Said Hebrew has to reshare me again.
Oh, okay.
Yet.
I think I'm on it now. All right, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and. The inventor of the telephone has surprised friends and colleagues with his insistence that all people use his middle name whenever they talk about him. Dismissing claims that Alexander Graham Bell was a bit of a mouthful, the Scottish inventor claimed that it was important he distinguished himself from all the other Alexander Bells who hadn't invented anything. Now that kind of brings up a question in my mind when I read that. When I was taught in grade school about Alexander Graham Bell inventing the telephone. I don't know if that was actually said or if it was implied, but they led me to believe that he was a United States citizen. But apparently, he was of Scottish citizenship. I thought that was kind of. I don't remember that being mentioned in the narrative. But I digress. When it was pointed out to him that the inventor Thomas Edison was almost never referred to by his full name, Thomas Alva Edison, Bell claimed Edison was a special case. He argued that Edison had no way set a precedent because Alva was silly and embarrassing middle name that anyone would try to keep quiet about. Arguments. Further, arguments were quickly diffused when it pointed out that Edison's invention of the phonograph was still 12 months away and that his first light globe wouldn't appear until another 2 years down the track. Alva calls himself an inventor, but what's he come up with so far to a bit of electricity going down a wire, making it glow, said Bell. He keeps going on about how he's going to create electric light as something that can record the human voice, but so far he hasn't managed to crack anything apart from a bit of a dot and a dash telegraph stuff. Good luck to him with a middle name like Alva hanging over him. Sorry. He can probably do with a bit of a good fortune. Edison was unavailable for comment as he was busy practicing. Mary had a little lamb for when he finally did get his voice recording device working. Attempts to get him to record something more poignant and significant for this history making event so far proving futile. Meanwhile, it remains to be seen if people will continue to use the cumbersome Alexander Graham Bell epithet for any length of time. Most observers feel that it's simply too wordy, and that when the history of the telephone is discussed, commentators will quickly revert to the much snappier Alex Bell. Mr. Watson, on the other hand, seems almost certain to remain known as Mr. and not his actual given name, Thomas. I like Mr., said the inventor's assistant. It's short, snappy, memorable, and quickly tells people I am a man, not a lady. That's it. I'm done. I thought that was
You got to
clever.
read Watson unimpressed with Bell's manner when that was hilarious.
Okay. All right. Watson unimpressed with Bell's manners. Some bitterness has marred what should have been a memorable moment in history as Bell's associate expressed dissatisfaction at the way he was spoken to and what would be forever remembered as the world's first ever phone call. I picked up the phone and said, "Mr. Watson, come here. I want to see you." No pleasant no pleasant chit chat. No, how's the family? What have you been up to? I'm sorry from my perspective. It was just plain rude. History nearly didn't happen, as Mr. Watson did, in fact, nearly miss the call. You know how these things go, said Watson. You get busy out in the yard and forget all about the telephone. It had never rung before, so you're not exactly expecting a call. I had to bolt from the clothesline and get there just in time. That makes the abrupt way he spoke to me even more disappointing. In retrospect, I should have just let it ring, aggressively told to come here. Bell said it was an all unfortunate misunderstanding. Uh, Watto can be a bit thin skinned at times. I in no way meant to speak down to him as if I would. Anyway, I reckon he should be happy that I no longer have to summon him like I used to with a whistle or by hitting him in the back of the head with an old crouton.
Yeah, I thought that was a good one.
Yeah, some of these are pretty good. I will go ahead and I'll put the link in the chat room if anybody wants to look at them for themselves. And then if you want to go ahead and turn on the phones there, or I guess you said they're already on. Nobody's calling.
Well, he ain't put the number back up. There we go. Phone lines are back open.
I just didn't want your story to get interrupted there, man. That was a pretty good little deal that you spilled here tonight. Appreciate it, my man.
Oh, you're welcome. I was just trying to think of something that kind of would give us a lighter moment and some perspective on things.
It kind of ties into the whole thing we were talking about earlier. We were talking about call-ins and we're talking about phones. We were talking about phones and how it's pretty funny how they talk about how mobile phones will never catch on, and now that's all people are on anymore. It's like you can't even, you see, like today at Kroger, for example, I had to go to Kroger, pick up some groceries and such. And then I'm driving across the parking lot and I have to watch out for people because they're sure not watching out for me. They got their heads down on their phone crossing the parking lot. They're not even looking to see if any cars are coming. And then another thing I noticed is there was these girls they was trying to collect money for their school for something or another. I don't know if it was cheerleaders or something like that for the football or something like that. And they weren't even asking people, hey, would you like to sign up for this? Or would you like to buy tickets or whatever it is they were doing? They were so busy with their phones. They weren't even bothering to tell people anything. I noticed I went in the store, didn't say nothing to me, went out the store, didn't say nothing to me going out. So it's like, well, I ain't going to try bothering donating money if you ain't even going to try to pitch whatever it is you're selling, you know?
Right. Well, you know what, really, to be honest with you, they're all looking at their phones. They're probably doing all their sales over social media. They're just standing out there for people who are coming to pick up their orders.
Well, no, I don't know about that.
I'm just saying, I'm taking it a bit to the extreme, but I'm sure that they probably could be on oh yeah, I'm up here at Kroger selling my cookies, and then put the little sparklies on their picture and their selfie and post it on Instagram, and soon, somebody shows up to buy some. I'm just saying.
Speaking of phones, we do have a caller.
All right.
Cool beans.
San Antonio on the line. I'm unmuting you now. You're live.
Hi, this is Miss V.
Well, hello, Miss D.
Hey, you know who I am, right?
Yes.
Did you say Miss
Okay.
P or Miss D?
V like Vivian.
Oh, Miss V like Vivian.
Yes. And
Oh,
I did say
And
T, but I recognize your voice nevertheless. I thought you were just using an alias.
no. I go by either V, Miss V, or Vivian, or just such straight. Either way. And
Oh
wow,
wow.
What the heck was that?
what was that?
that was for you.
What was it?
That was
Like
just
a falling star?
that somebody screaming.
Oh,
That was Hebrew messing with you.
It's just one of my little toys.
oh, okay. I was like, wow.
I had to. I had to do it.
But I was thinking about y'all's topic earlier that y'all were talking about being grateful and you know I thought maybe I'd just share a little bit about, some miracles that God did for me in my life, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, through the years, of course, I'm an older woman. Through the years, I've had times when things were, we're raising kids by myself. I didn't get no child support or nothing and supported two children on my own and really didn't have, a family to go back to help me, nor a husband or ex-husband that was helping to pay. So it was just me, myself, and my two children. And there was one point where me and the kids were actually homeless. And I've been blessed now in my life that I own my own home outright, just like God's Armor or Armor Up. And, you know, but I've realized a lot through the years that it's not, to me, of course, being a woman, of course, I look for that security, but the only security that I really have then would be from God. And throughout the years, my material things became further and further of importance to me, and more things that were, of just being able to say, "Hey, I have a roof over my head," and stuff like that was more important. I learned that the hard way, and especially through recently, seeing what's going on in the Bahamas right now has been really just very heart wrenching on me. There's people that are actually left behind there that the government is not going and getting. And I was watching a video the other day of a woman who she is there with her husband and her two children, and there's no food, no water, no nothing now. And just to think that there are people that are actually going to be over there just starving to death and dying, there is a lot to be grateful for, but like not to have to worry. So back in the day, there was a time when me and my children were homeless, and there was this little house that I used to go to this Baptist church back then, and there was this little house that we would drive by every day, and my kids were probably about 6 and 7 at the time. And did I lose y'all, or are y'all still here?
Yep, we're still here.
Okay, that's good. Thanks. So I thought maybe I was like got disconnected because I've got the show turned down so it won't echo back through the phone. So so I would go by this little house and look in the windows. It would look like it was like empty, had a faded sign on it. And one day I was literally living in the car with my two children, and I drove by and there was somebody remodeling it. And there was a woman, and I went up and she came outside. My kids used to be, little face, because they would always say to me, "Is this where we're going to live, mommy? Is this where we're going to live?" And I was like, okay, sure. And so it ended up that there was this lady outside one time, and I went up and I asked her if she was, buying the place. She said, "Well, I bought it and I'm going to be renting it out." And she goes, "And I'm going to rent it to you." And so I was like, okay, that's definitely different. At this point, I didn't really have a cent to my name and really didn't know how. I was doing a lot of my jobs. I used to clean homes for a living from my car, and I would drag my kids around with me. It was summertime at that time, so they weren't in any kind of like preschool or school. And to make a long story short, I said to the kids, "Well, if we're going to move in there, we got like $1.90 to my name. let's just go around the corner to this little thrift store and look around at stuff. So when I walked into the doors, and this just was proof that God had taken care of me, because when I walked into the doors of the shop, and it must have been about 1,000 square feet in there of furniture and clothing and dish stuff, and the lady looked at me and she said, everything $40 if you can get it moved out by tomorrow. And I kind of looked behind me like, who's she talking to? And she actually sold me everything in the store for $40. Now, all I had to do was have a place to put the stuff. So I called this lady that I was renting from, and I told her, I said, I'll tell you what, you give me the garage, and I promise you, once I'm in there, I will make enough money on sale stuff that I'll have 6 months worth of rent in the first few weeks. Well, sure enough, this pastor from this church helped me with the $40 and with the truck, and I moved everything in. And next thing you know, I was living in that home, and I used 90% of the stuff at that time to furnish it. And I stayed in that house with my children from 1991 to 1997, and was extremely blessed. And I remember feeling at that point that God was my husband. That's what took care of me. And after now, of course, I live in my own home that I ended up, taking myself through school, becoming a therapist, and I own my own house outright now. And I did all the right things with the money, but I don't really connect as much to the material things of life. You know how these people nowadays, there's a lot of people who are looking for just like these tiny houses. That's because I think people are moving away from needing so much, but learning that there's so much more to life than having. And I can't say that there's times when my faith isn't, low and shooken. Like I've been off for 14 days of work because I've had just now getting over a serious upper respiratory infection. And so there's moments where I still feel like it would, having that moment of a doubt or that not even a mustard seed of faith. And it's good when I was listening to your show earlier, because it's also just that kick, that reminder that puts me back on track, that says you're not the only one who, has felt that way, or is also a sort of a reminder of my faith that God is always there. And especially right now with being out, for 14 days of work and stuff. And I just wanted to say thank you for y'all's topic. You might not have thought it touched anybody, but it definitely did me. And just thought I'd share that story with y'all about overcoming and realizing. And I just don't think that connecting to material things in this life is really an answer to anything. It's more connecting with each other that really matters.
I'm glad we were able to reach you.
You did, because I was feeling a little down today.
And it's all amazing. Always good to hear someone else's testimony about what the Father's done in their life, because that's exactly what we're supposed to do. We overcome with our testimony. So it's important to share testimonies of how the Father's moved, and that's the way it usually is. When you're at the place where you realize there ain't nothing you can do about it and finally give it over into his hands, then he can operate and he can do things.
Definitely. And, just thinking there was somebody that wrote something in the chat earlier about somebody who felt suicidal because of the Mandela effect. And I thought that's really not the route we need to go with this. We need to realize that everything that comes our way, every single thing that comes our way, is an opportunity for us to turn something over to God. Every moment is an opportunity, and every moment God has been creating miracles in my life. I mean, I've had 29 surgeries in 10 years, and I've had a lot of, physical things that I don't, comprehend as to why they're not gone. There's times when I think, well, I have this strong faith in God, and why has those illnesses not been removed? And so, of course, I've been working on some of that, because I do believe, excuse me, what you think about, you bring about. And of course, there's not a day that I just sit around thinking about feeling sick, but there's things that actually physically are going on with me, and I'm doing my best with it, and then just giving the rest over to God, if that makes any sense.
Yep.
But yeah, so I guess in that, when I read that thing where that person felt suicidally depressed because of the
Wow.
Mandela effect and stuff, I was like, no, that's not. Every opportunity is that it's not like, I don't believe God tests us. I think that for me, I think it's more that God's arms are right out there, just waiting for us to jump into them. And really, faith is looking at something that you don't see. You don't see it. You can't see God physically, but through all the years you've been alive. I'm sure most of us are in our 50s that are on here. I mean, I might be the only old lady here, but um, you know, through the years of going back and just remembering what was done, what was done for me and what is still going to be done. I have to have that future faith, and that's where, as you think, so you receive. So, I mean, even my mother, when she passed away, my mother was this is going to be a hard one, y'all, but my mother was a very special lady. She had cerebral palsy. So she, to me, was like a Jerry's kid. When she passed, it was just before she passed, she was put into a situation where her faith was tested. And what I mean tested, it wasn't like God tried to test it, but it was still tested. And the person that was testing it was my sister. And it was not a positive thing. It was very like Westboro Baptist Church type behavior. And my mom told me on her deathbed, she said, do you think God loves me? And will God take me with him? And I said, of course, of course. But it was very painful to see that after all those years of her strength and her belief in God, that humanness, that human limitation could put her to that feeling, And then she passed within 3 days of that. And I'm sure that God loves us, whether we are able to experience our faith for moments or not. God doesn't leave us. We leave God. God's hands are always out there. I lost my mom in 2013. It was very difficult, and especially because she was, a special person. It made it even more harder for her to be gone. But I prayed and I'd asked for all the wisdom that my mother had taught me, and I had remembered saying something along the lines a few months after her death that I wish that I had everything she told me written down. And then about 2 weeks later, my sister called me and said she found this book that my mom had put together with everything she ever told me. And she sent it to me. So it was just like, I guess in an essence, did that book exist? Or did it exist after the fact that I had wished for it? That's how kind of I look at it, that God's going to bring to us the things we need. If we're not strong enough, God's going to know that. But I do believe, Armor Up, I do believe that you are more than you give yourself that credit for, because I don't think God made junk. And I hear you on the show always, not allowing yourself to become, I guess you're keeping it humble, but I do believe God uses you in a very strong way, especially in my life. So I just wanted to say thank you for that. And
Well, thank you. And I'm just keeping it real more than humble, because I know it's not me. I mean, I know anything I do to help anyone else definitely is coming through the Spirit, because it just isn't me. So I guess it could be being humble. I don't know. It's just being real to me. I mean, I just know it's a fact. So.
Right. Well, I didn't mean to rattle all this time, but I thought I would call in and say thank you for y'all's topic, and never think a topic's a mistake, because it's obviously helping somebody. So
I really enjoyed your story, what you shared, Vivian. I want you to know it meant a lot to me, and I don't know. I just am really glad you called. I mean, it would be worse if you called and you didn't say anything. Just saying.
really, I don't think that would ever happen. If I called in, I don't think you can keep me quiet. Oh, I'm just picking on myself a little bit there. So, and hi, Hebrew. Hi.
Oh, hello there. Sorry, I was just listening.
Yeah. Oh, I just wanted to say hello since I talked to each one of y'all. I didn't want to just pop off here without saying, good night and how much I love y'all. And I'm so grateful that y'all put this show together and that this time I was able to actually find out how to get my notification set up for it tonight. So I didn't miss it.
So were you on here at the beginning? Did you hear the our new theme song?
I did hear the song. I really like it. I even put little claps and stuff or little, what do you call those, little musical notes across there. I think that's a great idea. Just make sure the copyright issues are fixed with the tune, and you'd be good to go on that. I think that's great.
I don't think-
And then, go ahead, Armor.
I think since it's its own thing, like we're not using the actual words that they use, like it's a different thing. It's more along the lines of a homage type deal than it is copyright issue. I don't think there'll be an issue.
And it's not like we're trying to make any profit off of it.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm sure. I'm sure you're not. Yeah, and did we all mentioning some kind of T-shirts or something? Do y'all have a place where we go buy them or what?
Well, Heber's going to set that up this week, apparently. Correct?
Yeah, we'll get that set up this week, and
we should have a link for you by next week, hopefully.
They'll be set for purchase.
That's great. Well, maybe shoot me a link over or something to Hangouts or something just to let me know. So, and I kind of was on and off throughout the show because I've been still trying to. I'm putting together this book called Here to Be the Light, and of course, it does come from a very different place of understanding God, but it's all the same thing. It's all God, and so I'm not finished with it. I've just done little bits lately. I've kind of slowed down, but I've been a little procrastinating with finishing it. But my hope is to, at least by next year, have a book completed so I can get it published and share my thoughts, at least, with my family, having maybe copies of it and stuff like that. So, and then, if people want to get it or whatever, I'm not trying to really profit off of it, although it would be interesting if that's the route that God has for me to be able to make some kind of an income, versus my work has really suffered because I do massage therapy and I do mind, body, and spirit work. I also do energy work. And because I got real ill, I can't work with people because I was coughing. I mean, literally. I'm so grateful to have, regained my energy again. And I'm working on some other areas of my health right now with just shifting my foods. And I've lost like 14 pounds of my chunkiness. And so I'm going to get my health back on so I can still call in sometime. How's that sound?
Sounds good. I'm glad you're feeling better.
Thank you. And I hope y'all have a really good night. I'm getting a little bit of sleepy. I'll try to listen to the show till I fall asleep. And I love everybody.
All right. Much love, Viv.
Okay. Y'all have a good night.
Your way, and thank you very much for calling in. And that was an awesome story that you shared.
Well, thank God, because without it, me and the kids would have never, came around to where we are, all of us now, My kids are grown. I've got 4 grandkids, and yeah, so it's just all credit goes to God on that for sure. I just needed the reminder tonight, and y'all were saying the exact thing that I know.
An awesome reminder that
back out.
Awesome reminder that the Father does provide.
Yes, well, I'll take prayers anytime y'all want to send them, and I'll send prayers to y'all.
Well, thank you.
Love y'all. Okay.
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye, Viv. All right. We don't have any other callers yet, so lines are still open.
I sometimes sit back and, I look at all the cracks in my walls and holes in my floors and, all the leaks and everything. And sometimes, every once in a while, I'll catch myself kind of griping about it. And, oh, man, I wish I had this or I wish I had that. But then I'll catch myself doing that, and I'll go, you know what? I'm lucky to have 4 walls and a roof over my head, and I'm lucky to have, I'm lucky to have a wall that has cracks in it and a floor that has holes in it. A lot of people don't have that, and I thank God every day that I do have that. You know what I mean? It's like sometimes we forget. We do forget, and we stray away, and we do. Sometimes we want more, and we shouldn't be like that. But it's only human nature sometimes to do that. But as long as you catch yourself and you realize, hey, you've got a lot. Even if you got a house, even if it has cracks and it has leaks, even if it has, no heat or whatever, whatever the case may be, if you got all that, you're in good shape. And
Yep, I remember my I think it was my stepmom when I was a kid. She more often than not was your typical stepmom and got on my nerves, and but all the typical stepmom stuff. But one thing that always stuck with me that she always said whenever somebody in earshot of her would be complaining about this or that or worrying about this or that, she would always say, "Count your blessings." And
yes,
that always stuck with me. And I remember that, what, no matter how bad it really is, it's a good idea just to count your blessings. Count the things, make note of all the things that are right in your life instead of focusing on all the things that are wrong in it.
well said.
That's the key.
What really grinds my gears though is getting a little off topic here, but you talked about homeless people a while ago, and the one thing you really got to be careful about. I think we've talked about this on other shows before, but there's this guy. He holds a sign on the same street corner, same time of day, every day. And I think it was the same guy I was telling you about. I saw a car pull up later on that day, and it picked him up, and he went on about his business, changing his clothes and whatnot.
I
But
told you that was me.
was that you? Oh
Yeah.
man, that's back when your beard was scruffy, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. But no, man. My wife was looking on Facebook, which I'm not a Facebook guy. I could give a crap less what's on Facebook, but she's a Facebook person. She gets on there all the time. She was looking at that. She come across some pictures that he was at Disney World, chilling out at Disney World with his family. And there was another one that she caught, I think, 2 or 3 weeks prior to that, where he was out this fancy restaurant and he was having a drink. Now, you can kind of overlook the whole fancy restaurant thing if you think, well, maybe somebody, took him there and they paid for his meal and this and that. But when you're seeing them every other week at different places, especially at like Disney World and whatnot, it kind of makes you wonder, it kind of makes you wary about some people that are like, and there are people who do this for a living. They sit out on the corner and ask for spare change when in reality they probably make more money than I do.
If you have a good location and you're dedicated to being there every day and holding your sign up in the right spot, you can do quite well for yourself. Yes, but it's a job just like anything else. You gotta go out there and brave the elements and deal with people, looking at you funny and
Like I
all the
said,
things that come along with it. It's not all. I mean, it's not like it's a really an easy job by any stretch of the imagination.
I'm not going to argue that, but I will argue that if you're putting yourself out there saying I've got no place to live and this or that, it is false advertisement, and it is, to
Well,
me,
if nobody gave him any money, it would be true.
in my opinion, though, it's just wrong.
Yeah, I
Especially
mean,
when you
it's
have,
it's not it's
well,
not the. I see your point. I get what you're
especially
trying to say.
when you're taking money out of someone's hands that is actually homeless and actually has problems. You know what I'm saying?
Well, the people only money he gets is people that choose to give it to him.
Well, yeah, but still
Well,
though.
look at it this way. And I've seen all the videos. I know exactly what you're talking about all the fake ones. And like I say, I see a lot of homeless.
Mhm.
A lot. And so now knowing that there's scammers out there, as you're saying, there's two ways to look at it. You can either let that affect you and say, well, every one of these homeless people is a scammer. I ain't going to take a chance on giving that guy $1 because he might have 10 already. And thus, the ones that really need it are never going to get anything because the scammers ruined it. Also, there's an old video on on my channel somewhere. At least I think it should be up there. It was by a guy back in his day. All he went by was Jonathan. Well, he went by something else, but the only name was Jonathan. Forget what else he called himself. And he did his videos and he disappeared. And he helped me a lot in my early journey. Now, Jonathan's not what anyone would consider a Christian, I'm sure. But what he said spoke a lot of truth. And he told a story about one time he was in a national park. And he was walking along and he drank his coffee. I believe it was a coffee he had or a bottle of water, something. But I think it was coffee, though. And he put the cup on the ground. And then he walked away. And he was like, and I did that because I knew that would enable someone later to come along and say, look, some ignorant person littered and left garbage on the ground, and they would pick it up. And that would give them a sense of accomplishment, a sense of joy for helping in some way. He said, and wouldn't you know it, he was back around there. I forget how much later, a week, a month, I don't know. And he was walking in the trail and came across someone, and they got to talking, and they were saying about how they had been there however long ago it was and seen a cup and picked it up. And it really made them feel good about being able to help the environment and do their little bit while they were out on the trail. So even though those scammers are out there doing what they're doing, they'll have to answer for that. No doubt about that. They'll answer for it. But the joy they can bring someone that's given them $2 because they think they're homeless has to be not overlooked also, just like Jonathan's cup. He put it down not to litter, but to give someone a chance to feel good about themselves. So those scammers are sort of doing the same thing, maybe with absolutely no intention of doing that.
Right.
So there's still good coming out of the bad and no answer for the bad. But don't let the scammers affect every homeless person you see. Think, well, they're just a scammer. Believe me,
Right.
I see a lot of them and they're not scamming. I know they're not scamming. I see everything they own piled in that intersection.
I used to drive a route every day. I would get off at this particular exit, and there would be this one particular female, and she was not easy on the eyes by any stretch of the imagination. She was really grungy looking. She looked like she hadn't had a bath. She was wearing clothes that looked like they had been through the war and back. But every morning she was there. I would show up somewhere between 9 and 10 a.m. And I would have to wait in a line. She was at the red light off the exit, and usually, more often than not, I was 3 or 4 or 5 cars back. I wasn't, right up next to her. I rarely got to be the front guy at the line at the light, simply because it was one of those lights that as soon as it turned, everybody would take off and go, like really fast. It wasn't one of those casual red lights. But my point that I'm trying to make is, I noticed, because I was there Monday through Friday every day of the week, and I would see different cars pull up and hand her money. The people that were giving her money actually knew her name. They were happy to give it, and they wanted to help her. They weren't giving her, hundreds of dollars every day. They were probably only giving her $2 to $5, $10 bill, but she had built up. So she was there every day, and she had built up a reputation of being there. That people actually got to know her. Then one day I went and she wasn't there. she nobody was there. There was nobody there. She wasn't there, and I was really concerned. Like, I had never given her money myself, but I had grown used to her being there, and I always made a mental note of seeing how she looked that day, or how she seemed like her. If she, I would notice if she had a new shirt or a new bag or new pair of shoes or whatever. A new she would use like a really big umbrella, and she would pop it up next to her chair for when she sat down so she could be in the shade. And and then and then I don't know, 2 or 3 days went by, and some other guy showed up there with a cardboard sign, and I didn't see hardly any of the same amount of people giving him money. I'm not saying that nobody gave him money, but right off the bat, he was like it was like he was a new business. It was like people, nobody knew him. He hadn't been there for a long time. The people didn't recognize him. They weren't sure who he was, and they were less. He wasn't getting the same donations that the previous female had been getting. And then I don't know, about a week goes by, and she's back, but she can't. But he's still in her spot, and she's just off to the side, like a little bit further down on the opposite corner, which isn't nearly as lucrative. But you know what I saw? I saw people turning off to the right, pulling into the White Castle parking lot, and getting out of their car to walk over and hand her money, simply because they were so happy to see that she had came back. Now, tell me that isn't kind of that doesn't kind of make you think
Wow.
and scratch your head just a little bit.
Yeah, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So, yeah, I just thought I would share that. That was my little telltale that I wanted to share, because I actually noticed all that. And about 3 or 4 more days went by, and the dude gave up his corner because he realized that everybody was giving her the money. He quit showing up, and she got her spot back.
It's kind of like that story goes. I felt bad for a person that had no shoes until I saw a man that had no feet. Then I felt really bad for that guy. Well, no, I mean,
I know what you mean.
have you ever heard that story?
Yeah, I've heard that. I've heard that saying.
Yeah. It's one of those things. I felt bad for a man that had no shoes until I saw a man that had no feet. So, it could always be worse, is the moral of the story.
Yeah, I'm guessing that she must have gotten sick, or had either gotten sick, or she was either probably in the hospital or in jail for whatever reason. I'm not, it's not for me to speculate. But she was probably in one of those two places when she wasn't there.
Data Junkie just entered the room.
Yes, he did. Hello, Data Junkie.
Also, Emma, they're aliens. But yeah, and I think Vivian, the story she just told, can attest to it just like I can, but they're by the grace of God. They're but by the grace of God. There goes I. I mean, I was unemployed for years. I could have been on a corner, I'll never look down on someone because I'm blessed more than they are, even if they are faking it, because I don't know if they're faking it.
And it's not for us to judge.
No. And they also told us, be careful when you entertain a stranger, because it might be an angel. So keep that in mind. That's not a joke.
Very true.
Angels don't pour out, Yeah. I mean, I'm just saying, don't ever look down on them because they're scammers out there. That's a wrong thing to do. Yeah,
and you know what? I mean, you could use the word karma if you want, but people always have whatever it is they got coming to them, whether it's a blessing or the opposite thereof. It's what you reap that you sow,
That's exactly right. You ever see that show, Highway to Heaven?
Yes. It had the guy from Little House on the Prairie on it, didn't it?
Well, yeah, Little Joe, Michael Landon, that's his name.
Yeah.
I never watched that show. I couldn't stand Little House on the Prairie and was forced to watch it my whole life. So I never watched Highway to Heaven.
Yeah. See, my wife loves Little House on the Prairie. She watches it just about every day. And
Everybody does. I can't stand it.
I can't
You
stand
know,
it either. I'll be
it's
honest.
funny because that this kind is honest the things that the show intends to instill. The people in that community are really mean and evil sometimes.
Agreed.
But go ahead. I digress.
You digress.
Yeah, go ahead and finish your story.
Oh, that's a new one. No, I didn't really have a story. I was just saying you never know who's going to turn out to be an angel. It could be some bum with holy pants, or it could be some guy in a brown leather jacket. I mean, you just never know. It could be some guy in an Oakland A's hat with a scruffy beard. I mean,
Why's it got to be an Oakland A's hat? That's what I want to know.
well, because I don't know.
Why not a Cleveland Cavaliers hat?
Well, that could be, but you never know. It's like the old saying goes, never judge a book by its cover.
What if it's Oiler Greg in a Houston Oilers hat?
Well, then I don't know about that one.
Okay.
No, we're just kidding. But
All right, go ahead. I'm sorry.
but no, I'm saying like, the enemy always presents itself, or most of the time seems to present itself in a pretty form, like a beautiful woman, or maybe a beautiful a handsome guy, or maybe even like a beautiful field of flowers, or something like that. I'm not going to go that far, but something that has beauty in it is not necessarily beautiful on the inside. It can be pure evil, and it also pertains to something that looks ugly on the outside, or scruffy looking, or maybe like a bum with a bunch of holes in his clothes and dirty oily rags. Could be like Armor said, it could be an angel in disguise, because an angel's not going to present itself or let itself be known to the world. You go up to a beautiful person or something like that that's beautiful on the outside, and you go, well, that person must be an angel because they're so beautiful. And then you'll be surprised that they could be one of Satan's minims. Am I saying that correctly?
Minions.
You never know. You just never know.
Yep, you're right. I mean, it's the devil isn't always going to have a pitchfork and horns on, is what you're trying to say, right? Sometimes it can seduce you with lots of glamour,
Hey,
and that is very much the case. I mean, I'll attest to that. I have personally fell into being seduced by what I thought was something very beautiful and charming and elegant. Turned out to be my demise. That's where I want to leave that.
well, you know what they say, the devil's greatest trick was convincing the world he didn't exist.
I think I might have heard that somewhere.
Yep.
You got a wall tonight, don't you? Would you write all these down before the show started?
No, they're just up in the old noggin.
Oh, okay.
So,
Oh, yeah. Jocko has a good point. Don't you think our contest winner should get a wrench?
That's one to think on. Yeah.
I mean, he did come up with our slogan and everything.
He sure did. You know what? Why don't we do this? Here's what we'll do. We'll take away the wrench from Mr. Jocko and give it to Oily.
First, Jocko said he deserves a wrench. I don't know if we can help him with a wrench, but I think he could hook him up with a tool.
I gotta bust his chops some way or another. You know that. We're just kidding you, Mr. Jocko.
Yeah, Oiler Greg says he does have some Oiler hats, by the way.
Oh, okay. So
The good thing is wrench will be Houston Oiler blue.
Data Junkie says beggars in her town wear $400 sneakers. I believe it. You know, you remember the days like in the 90s, I think it was, or maybe late 80s, where people were shooting each other for Air Jordans?
Yeah, I remember when that was making the headlines. Yeah.
That was a sad day in American history.
Well, you know what? That just was the day that the news decided that that would be what they would cover in the news. But it actually happens every day in American history. People get shot over $10 every single day or less, even.
Well, here's the deal. I'm gonna make a deal for you guys. Have we gotten any calls?
Nope, not yet.
How about this deal? If we don't get any calls within the next, I'd say what, 5 minutes or so, I'd say we go ahead and give one last shout out to the room, and then we close this week's Shifty Sunday down. What do you guys think?
Sounds like a plan.
Sounds good. Been a good show.
I was going to say, unless you got more little stories there you want to tell, Mr. Sagittarically speaking guy.
No, I think I pretty much covered what I had prepared for this week. I think that time has came and went.
Oh, I thought you were going to.
I want to thank everybody for showing up. I want to thank our callers for calling, and I want to thank everybody who submitted an entry. It was really nice to have people actually participate in our little thing that we came up with, and it's just nice to know that we have people who show up every week and support our channel, and I'm just really glad to be part of this thing that we got going on here. Now that's what I have to say.
I thought you were going to give us your pasta al dente recipe. I guess that's a secret though, huh?
Oh yeah, I can't share that.
Okay. Well then, how about you, Mr. Armour? You got any final words of wisdom?
Well, I don't know about words of wisdom, but yeah, like Sadie said, want to thank everyone for putting in the contest. It's awesome to see such a response. Thank Lorraine for an awesome theme song. That's cool as heck.
Definitely.
And thank Euler Greg for our slogan. Definitely was the unanimous votes behind the scenes with us. So congratulations. I'm glad to see it worked out with the chat voting. I had a pretty good feeling it would. But like I said, they were all great. No doubt about it. I'm sure we'll probably end up using more of them in the future and paying respects to those we got them from in some way or another. But yeah.
Not to mention we have a really cool theme song now for the intro of the show.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't have to put you to work on it no more.
I know, right? I don't know that I could have topped that one. That's really good.
And what a great singing voice Lorraine has, I must say.
I agree.
I don't think I could have done that song justice.
No, neither could I. I mean, I tried to make it kind of like a cheer, and then you made it kind of like a Vegas lounge song, and then we heard her rendition. It topped both of our failed volleys.
Well, with that being said, I think I'm going to take the banner down for the phone lines. And I'll put our Monday. How about this? We'll try to do that. You want to try to do that Monday?
Do what?
Oh, you can't see the banner, can you? I thought you had YouTube on. Morning Cup. Like we were doing it, but anyway, I mean, it's up to you.
Hold on, I'm coming back to where I can see. Oh, Monday coffee, Monday morning Joe.
Yeah.
We could try to do that. We'll see how it. I think last week we didn't do it because you were still in the hospital, right?
Well, no, I think maybe last week we didn't do it because I didn't get up, or I think I get up around noon or something.
Yeah, we've been having scheduling conflicts, but yeah, I think we should be okay tomorrow.
Well, with that being said, let's give this room one last shout out.
Oh, that would be me. Hold on. I got stuff popping up. All right. Let me get my participant list up. Oh, there ain't many on the participant list. All right. I'm going to free wing it in the chat. So if you want shouted out, speak now or forever hold your pieces. We got, let me scroll up a bit. We got Oiler Greg, of course, our contest winner, Data Junkie, Jocko R with a wrench. Vivian, of course, was here. Lorraine was here. Scroll on down. Taekwondo. Robo Cub. Zombie Cat Cub. He's always lurking. We got the zombie in the background lurking. So be careful, people.
Don't forget to give Euler his wrench there, Hebrew.
We lost the bro. All right, I think that's everybody. I think Jenny Perty was here earlier. I can keep scrolling up, see who else. Chaos Reality, we get them. I think we got them already. Alone One also was here. Can't forget about Alone One. Mystery Fried popped in and then went to help a neighbor. Blessings to the Mystery Fried. Red Shirt Blues, of course, was here.
Did you already say Emerther Aliens?
Oh, no, getting back to the bottom. Emerther, yeah. How'd you say that? Emerther Aliens. Wise Asker. I think we got everybody.
Yeah. Now we're stuck in limbo until Hero comes back.
I'm here.
Oh, okay. Did you remember to give Euler his wrench?
I'll do that next week.
Okay.
I got to take away Jocko's first.
All right, let's do your famous outro there, Captain.
I better knock it off or he's going to think I'm serious. For everybody here at the Hebrew, I almost said Hebrew Performance. Everybody here at the Hebrew channel, we would like to wish you all a good night. And thanks for participating in our contest, everybody. And we will see everybody next week for Sagittarically Speaking and Armor Up. This has been Hebrew saying so long, everybody. Oh, and thanks for the phone calls. And thanks for the song, Lorraine. And good night, everybody. We'll see you next Sunday, hopefully. All right. Good night. There we go. Push the button. Yes, I would like to end the broadcast now, please. Oh, and Macho Man Von King was here too, by the way. Just saying. Good night.
Oh, yeah.